everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to be filming one of my most watched videos, and I had done this years ago when I was first starting out on this channel about 3 years ago. I did a very quick tutorial on how to do a French tuck or a half tuck, but it is pretty old and I've learned a few things about filming since then, so I want to go more in depth in today's video about when you should tuck, when you shouldn't tuck your tops, and why should you even think about tucking at all. And this is one of the questions I get from my clients all the time. Should I tuck this shirt in? Should I leave it out? Not really knowing. I'm gonna go through the different ways you can tuck your top in or leave it out, and why and when it can help really change a whole feel of an outfit. It'll help with your proportions and it'll make an outfit feel more styled. So if you're following trends or you do like to follow trends, you might see that it's more common now, or the trend is to leave your top untucked. But what if your top is long, or what if it's bulky, or what if you just like to work with your proportions and define your waist, which I think is always a great thing to do when you're styling an outfit. So whether or not to tuck your top comes down to more than just about style. It's all about proportions. A simple half tuck can change the whole shape of an outfit. It defines your waist, it balances the silhouette, and it plays off the rise of your bottoms. So let's go over the three main ways to tuck or untuck. So the first one is doing a full tuck. It doesn't matter if it's a more fitted top or a looser silhouette, but a full tuck is your top is completely tucked in all the way around. And usually it looks a little bit more clean lines, it's a little cleaner silhouette. And the next type is a French tuck, or a half tuck in the front. So French tuck is when you're just tucking in the front of your shirt. You're leaving the back out, so the back is a little bit undone. And then untucked. When you're leaving your top completely untucked, it's out. When should you do that? When does it actually help the outfit? When does it work with your proportions? And what types of tops should you avoid leaving untucked? Another thing you want to think about when you're tucking or not tucking or half tucking is the rise of your bottoms. So a high-waisted bottom versus a mid-rise versus a low-rise. And also how that works with your torso. If you have a longer torso, an average torso, or a shorter torso, where you tuck and where your rise is all gonna play into the proportions of your body. So I wanna go through some examples of when a full tuck is probably gonna be the way you're gonna wanna go. So if you have something like a bodysuit, that it's obviously gonna be a full tuck because that's gonna be all the way in. But something like a tank, a fitted tank like this one here, you'll see for me, I really prefer to wear it tucked all the way in. So I want to show you how the rise of your bottom really affects your tuck and then also your proportions. So for this tank, it's tucked all the way in, and here I'm wearing it with a pair of high-waisted jeans. Where the jeans hit along my midsection, that draws the eye to that area. It brings my waistline higher to elongate my legs. And because my torso is more on the average side, a high-waisted jean does work for me. But if you're someone with a shorter torso, you're gonna wanna skip the high-rise waisted bottom because it's actually gonna make your torso look even shorter. You're gonna opt for something like a mid-rise or even a low-rise because again, when you are doing a full tuck, wherever your waistline of your bottoms is where it's gonna appear that your actual natural waist is. And I also want to show you what it looks like when my tank is completely out. So for me, this looks really undone, really unfinished. It elongates my torso and shortens my legs. So I definitely don't want to do that because I don't want to make my legs look shorter and my torso appear longer than it is. I prefer to have my waistline appear higher up. Now here you'll see I'm also wearing this tank tucked all the way in to a pair of mid-rise jeans. And this also works, but for me, I feel better in a high-rise jean when my waist is higher because not only does it feel more comfortable for me, I feel like it draws everything in and that actually feels more stable for my core, but it also helps elongate my body and define my waist. Now I want to show you two very different t-shirts that I love and wear all the time, but that I style very differently when it comes to tucking or not tucking. So this first one, this Anine Bing t-shirt, it's oversized, it's really long. So when I wear it out, untucked completely, it doesn't give me any shape, and again it shortens my legs, so it doesn't really work when it's completely undone. But here you'll see when I do a French tuck, It really helps to define my waist, it elongates my legs, and it gives me more of a proportional shape. So when you have something that's a little bit more oversized, a little bit longer, or even a little bit more boxy, it does help to do that French or half tuck. Now, in comparison, here I have my Lisette tee, which also has more of a boxy silhouette, but it's much shorter. It has a little bit of a crop, so even though I can do this as with a half tuck in the front, I prefer it to be worn out most of the time. So it's a good marker if you have a top that is cropped or slightly cropped, it's a little bit shorter, and the hem naturally hits at your waistline, you probably don't need to or want to do a half or full tuck. So let's talk about how to actually do that French tuck or that half tuck, because I know this is a question that a lot of my clients have, a lot of my viewers have, and the first thing I want to say is don't overthink it. So for the oversized tee, what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna grab the hemline of the t-shirt, and if you're wearing something like a pair of jeans, or even if it's something that has an elastic waistband, you wanna tuck the bottom 2 inches of your top behind the button or the elastic waistband. And then what you wanna do is you wanna smooth out the sides along the French tuck so it doesn't get all bunchy and bulky. So you just smooth it out, and then what I like to do on a top like this, I'll just tuck the back underneath, but I won't actually tuck it into my bottom. Now here is a silk button-up shirt. You'll see here when it's undone, when it's completely untucked, it doesn't give me any shape, and it doesn't really work with my proportions. It shortens my legs, it lengthens my torso, and I actually want to define my waist more. So what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna do a half tuck, and I'm gonna tuck it in the front. Again, you just wanna think about the bottom 2 inches of your top, tuck it behind the button or the elastic band of your bottoms, and then just smooth out the sides. And that for me feels so much better. It elongates my legs, it brings my waistline higher to more along my natural waistline, and it gives this whole outfit more shape and more proportion. And here's an example of a blouse that you don't need to tuck. So when your top, whether it's a blouse or a shirt, has a finished hemline, so you can see here like this one, it is not meant to be tucked in. It already has that natural billowing at the bottom. A top like this, you don't want to tuck it in. You don't want to do a half tuck. You don't want to do a full tuck. It's meant to be worn out. It's a finished hem. Another reason you might want to leave a top out or untucked is if it's a fitted top and it's more tailored to your body and it's not super long. And here's another example of when you can do a full tuck or a half tuck. So you'll see here in this look, I'm wearing my cami, but it's completely untucked. And you'll see there's no shape to it. The hemline isn't finished. It's just boxy, it's just straight. And it's also not shorter, it's not cropped, so it's not really meant to be worn out. So I want to add that half tuck to, again, create that illusion of lengthening my legs and using that tuck to draw the attention to my natural waistline and give this outfit more shape for my proportion. So when I do a half tuck here, you'll see it actually helps create that styled look and more intentional look. It looks more polished and it also feels more proportional. And to do the French tuck with this top, you'll see this one isn't as long as the Anine Bing t-shirt that I showed you earlier. So I'm only gonna do about an inch, maybe an inch and a quarter of the bottom of it from the hemline, so that I'm gonna tuck that part behind the elastic of the skirt. And then again, I'm gonna smooth out the sides. Again, you don't want to have it tucked all the way in because it's not a super fitted top where like a bodysuit or like my tank that I showed you earlier, you want to leave some room so then it actually looks more intentional and helps with the proportions. And I'm going to leave the back out because that feels, again, like my style. That feels more like me versus doing a full tuck, but you can absolutely do a full tuck here if that feels more like your style. And when you're thinking about wearing a sweater and whether or not you should do a half tuck with a sweater, you want to think about, again, do you want to define your waist and create more shape and proportion in your outfit? So sometimes if it's a sweater that is more bulky, it's a little bit oversized, you may want to leave that all the way out depending on your style. But just know that in terms of proportions and shape, it's not going to give you that definition of your waist and that lengthening of your legs. But if you want to do that half tuck in the front, Again, you want to think about taking the bottom 2 inches of the sweater and tucking it behind your jeans or your waistband and then smoothing out the sides. Again, that's going to just create a definition in your waist. It's going to create more shape in your outfit and also give you a nice proportional look. But then if you have sweaters that are more fitted or even have a finished hem, if there's an elastic bottom on your sweater, or even if it's a little bit shorter, you can think more about leaving those out as having them untucked. So that's when you want to think about it's okay to leave something out when it's more fitted to the body, or when it's a shorter top or hits more at your natural waist, or if there's some kind of finished hem or detail at the bottom of the top. So at the end of the day, whether you tuck, you do a half tuck, you do a full tuck, or a no tuck at all, it really comes down to what you feel best in, the proportions and the shape that you want to create for your body, and whether or not you want to define your waist. So do you like to do a full tuck, a half tuck, or you want to leave your shirt out altogether? Leave it down in the comments which one of these best describes you, or maybe you do a variation of each of these like me, depending on where you're going and what top you're wearing. So that's what I have for you this week. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. I hope this was a quick and easy tutorial to show you when to tuck, when not to tuck, and make sure to subscribe and hit the bell for new videos every Thursday if you love style tips that make getting dressed easier. And YouTube thinks you're gonna like this video next.